Hello and welcome back to the Busby Way Podcast for another thrilling week. We're talking about Manchester United football. It's the first one in 2022 as well, so Happy New Year to everyone watching. And I hope you had a great Christmas and everything like that. We're joined by a long-standing face of the Busby Way Podcast. Liam, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Kai?
Yes, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm still on the awful Wi-Fi, but I mean, we'll see if it gets us through because I just noticed it glitched a bit there, so we'll see. I mean, that's not changed at all since you've last been here, but you seem to be like the Roy Keane of the Busby Way Podcast. You seem to disappear when it all goes positive, and then as soon as it goes negative, you reappear from the depths. And you've joined us at a perfect time because United are currently on the floor after the Christmas period. It seems to be before the Christmas break it was bad, and then it just seemed to go from bad to worse since we've come back. We'll start off with the Wolves game that we witnessed this week. I mean, Manchester United got beat 1-0 by Wolverhampton, and probably, as much as it pains me to say, deservedly beaten by Wolverhampton Wanderers 1-0, and it probably flattered us, actually, that scoreline. The midfield of Moutinho and Neves absolutely dominated ours and made us look really, really weak. What did you make of the game, Liam? I would say, were you impressed by anyone? But I think it's very hard to be impressed by anyone in a performance like that.
It was a very, very bad and dour performance. Phil Jones is the most impressive player, and he's not played for 2 years before that. The last time he played in a Prem game would have been the Burnley game, which was the streak of the start of Ollie's long streak of unbeaten games, not long after the Liverpool defeat, and hopefully we can get a similar reaction. But I mean, yeah, it was frustrating. I mean, I can't believe that people haven't learned from the game Molineux. We were lucky to get a win at Molineux. Wolves came at Old Trafford and they've exploited the space out wide, as Bruno Lage said. And it was awful. I mean, 19 shots is what Wolves had. 15, I think it was, in the first half. And it's a bit of a flash from the pan moment that's won it for them, rather than their heavy amounts of good play itself. It's a bit of a flash from the pan moment. But, Moutinho just seems to have a thing about us scoring good goals at Old Trafford. He did it a few years ago, and under Mourinho, it's a real frustrating time. I don't feel as though we're having new manager bounce. It feels as though it's more of the same and just scrape through. Obviously, maybe there was a bit of a flick of a switch of confidence, maybe grown a little bit because we have a new manager. Hence the win at Palace, we a bit lucky at Norwich, scraped the draw at Newcastle. Performance wasn't great against Burnley, but we scored 3 goals. And we just can't seem to quite get a grip, which is frustrating because right here, right now, we're against all the teams that we should be beating in the league. Anyhow, we dropped Ralf Rangnick into a really, what looked like on paper, a comfortable or good set of fixtures. There's no easy fixtures for the Premier League, but if you wanted a set of fixtures, these were the ones. So I guess we're sort of a bit worried that we've not really kicked on. It's hard to find the positives right now, especially when all the reports are coming out about players being unsettled. 11 players want to go. All this sort of stuff has came out from, I think it was the Mirror late last night, and then you see that players aren't happy with training past 5 o'clock, and it's hard to believe. I mean, I just think sometimes you have to take a look at the players, and I think the player power at this club's been far too big for far too long. I guess it was sort of given to them when they sat Mourinho at Anfield. He was taking the power away from the players, but we're also in a dire state. I mean, he had to be sacked at that point, don't get me wrong. But I guess also Alexis Sanchez on £500,000 a week didn't help his cause either when it came to the attitudes of the players and a bit of discontent, because it was always a very touch and go camp with them. And then, you thought at the start of the season, Ronaldo back, Varane, we have a Leeds game, Newcastle. We obviously had a couple of dodgy performances on the way at Wolves and Southampton away, but you thought we'll scrape through. It's just early season things. But no, it just seems to have somehow gotten worse, and I don't know how how, in a way, much worse it can get before it gets better. I'm just hoping that we step it up for the FA Cup, because this is sort of last chance saloon for us now to rescue any form of silverware this season. Really, we've got the Champions League, but we're obviously heavy outsiders with that. It's going to be a real interesting game on Monday, and I just hope that the fans, as we always do at Old Trafford, and just get behind the players and behind the manager, regardless of what's gone on, and hopefully get through to the fourth round in what's a tricky tie.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned there about the 11 players wanting to leave. And I thought it was very telling in Shaw's interview after the game against Wolves, that when he came out and said it didn't feel like we were all together, and he said, and not everyone was giving 100%. And he said, I'm not saying that everyone doesn't give 100%, but that implied that for us, that there's people who he thinks that don't give 100%. And, maybe they're then people that want to leave. And I think, as much as it pains me to say, I think some of them fans' favourites could be in there. Bruno was dropped at the weekend. There's been a lot of talk about an ego measuring contest. I was going to use a different word because that's what it was described as, but it's an ego measuring contest with players and Rangnick apparently going on in the dressing room. Now, for me, that's down to the captain. The captain's got to drag everyone in and say, look, it's the manager. Follow the manager. We've had this argument on this podcast before, whether Harry Maguire's a good enough captain to do that, whether he's a forceful enough captain to do that when you've got players like Bruno and Ronaldo in that dressing room, and Cavani for that matter. Do you think maybe that Bruno being dropped against Wolves was maybe a reason that maybe was a reason for it with the ego thing, or do you think that was maybe just a rest of the fresh legs?
It's a difficult one, because I think with our selection so far under Ralf, it seems as though he more or less goes with the same team that did or got the 3 points in the last game. I can't for the life of me understand why he was dropped against Wolves. Obviously, he got in the box and hit the bar. He had a free kick at the end. Unlucky. It's good save by Jose Sarr. I don't know, but sometimes I just look at some players and I think I look at some players and in my mind at the ground, or when I'm just in general watching on the telly for some away games and that, I sometimes think you really depict why the club is where it's at. And ironically, I think Luke Shaw's one of those players. I think Luke Shaw, he's got a bit of a brass neck on him, saying about people not trying. I don't think he tries. I don't think Harry Maguire has been up to scratch this season. I don't know whether it is a lack of effort, but it's certainly a lack of desire at times. I mean, Roy Keane hilariously did an impression of Maguire in the Sky Sports studio, saying, so he just looks at him, apologies for fans and all that. And it's like, he's just, sometimes look at Harry Maguire and I think, I'm almost, I'm watching him on the pitch and I just always think, well, I'm waiting for your Instagram apology after the game. That's half what I'm expecting after every game. Just, we haven't won today, apology. And it's like, that doesn't cut it. Comes a point where push comes to shove, and I can't imagine Roy Keane ever doing an apology after the game United didn't win. We've had times under David Moyes where we lost 3 in a row. We still had Rio and Vidic and all that. They didn't apologise. They tried to get on with it and tried to win the next game. I think, it's a real. I just don't think he should be captain, Harry Maguire.
No,
I think on his day he's a good player. I don't think he can take away the last 2 years of what we saw him. I think he's a good player, but there's times where you see people like Varane line up next to him. You think, you sort of point and go, well, shouldn't he be more like that? Or, and you look at Maguire and you think, you should be shouting about organising your back four. You're actually the most senior of the back four, or one of them. You're certainly the most expensive, more than double what we paid for Varane. It's or around double. It's just crazy. There are some players where I do look and I think you haven't quite got the mindset and the trigger of a 38-game season and how grueling it would be. These sort of players they're stuck in the mud a little bit. Some of them, I think. I don't know why or what it is, but I just think mentally there's something amiss with them. I don't see the intensity of the attitude and performance. And I certainly, don't see the commandment or leadership across the squad. I mean, I can't for the life of me just understand what is going on, but I think there's been some players who started well under Rangnick who will just come back in straight away now. I think Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw wasted a chance. I've got to be honest, they've wasted a chance. The loan tellers will be straight back in for the Villa FA Cup game. And I mean, I can't for the life of me understand why they always got 2 days off after Wolves. If they'd busted a gut and worked really hard, and it had been a tight fought game, and it was like, oh, we lost 1-0, but we've peppered their goal, we've been unlucky today. You could understand, but to not even have double figure shots on goal at home is, to be quite honest, useless. Lack of aggression, lack of desire, lack of attitude, lack of motivation. It's whatever you want to call it. Lazy as well. I think I can't remember the last time we had less than double figure shots on goal at home. Would have been before Rowie, I'd say.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
It's not good enough.
No, I agree. And I think these 11 players that, these come out with these numbers, 11 players, name and shame them. I think put it out there. Say he wants to leave, because then I think they'll realise how toxic Old Trafford can be. If they think it's toxic now, and if the fans found out that they didn't want to be there and their hearts weren't in it and they didn't want to play for the shirt, I can't imagine what it'd be like for them.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, with these 11 players, you know who like 5 of them are, more or less.
Yeah.
You know, like Martial, he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Bailly probably doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Van der Beek probably doesn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Henderson probably doesn't want to be
Pogba.
there, because Pogba, Lingard, you can sit there and you can go through and you can get some of them. I'd be interested to actually see who the remainers are. I think it looks as though one might be off, but he doesn't get played anyhow, so what does that matter? But it's a case of like, is one of them Cavani, because he doesn't want to be here after the end of the season? I think
it would be. As much as it pains me, I think it would be.
Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to see who the last few remaining are. I mean, part of me thinks Cavani, part of me thinks would Ronaldo want to hang around if we're loitering towards mid-table come the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think we've ultimately got to have a squad that wants to play for us and is going to run through brick walls for the fans. I mean, we're not asking for prime Barcelona or prime odds, who treble winning us, but we want a team who is at least relatable. And there's times where they certainly drop under that standard of being relatable and looking as though they're really applying themselves, and it's very hard to watch, and it does sort of distance you a bit more as a fan, and you feel a massive divide in the club. It's just a very difficult time, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, like any player now that comes into this dressing room, say if they sign this midfielder they're on about signing in the January window, they're just going to come into such a toxic dressing room, which will only breed more toxic attitude. It's a never-ending circle, and you've just got to unfortunately, swipe it clean, clear that attitude out. Anyone with that attitude, get them out. I'm sorry, but if you don't support the club and you're not wanting to play for the club, don't stay. Why would as a manager, if you're Ralf Rangnick, why would you want someone to stay who doesn't want to be there? Get rid of them. No matter how good they are, United have always been bigger than the player, and they can't be now in a position where the players are now bigger than the club, because that's not the case at all. But in terms of who they do bring in, then Liam, do you think that's maybe a route to, like a solvable fix? Because we've said this so many times, they need to bring in this player, or they need to bring in this player. What do you think is probably the best fix to get us out of this toxicity? So I can never say that word, toxicity. Or like, how do we move forward from where we are now?
Any players who are expendable in this team, who are in this category of the 11, should go, who are expendable. So it might not have to be toxic, but I just sit there and I see, for example, comes across a nice lad, Lingard posting West Ham stuff. I don't care that you ever played for West Ham. I don't. Nor do I care if you play for West Ham in the future. While you play for us, you don't do that sort of thing. Just simple as keep it under, just keep it under and away from the social media and public eye. nice you've got a connection with West Ham. She did well there, and you're a good player. I'm not going to understand you love the fans because they maybe embrace you or look after you. You know, I don't care. I want the best for our club. And particularly people like that, I look and I think, probably won't sell them to West Ham because we're too... We won't sell them to West Ham in January, I wouldn't think, because we're too protective or naive or stupid. I mean, we didn't sell Romero to Everton because we thought Everton were top 4 rivals. We finished about 12th or 13th last summer. They finished where Everton usually do, and we thought they were going to be top 4 rivals because we got Ancelotti and James Rodriguez in, and that didn't work. And I look at West Ham and I think if you don't back yourself to go toe-to-toe against West Ham, you finished as far as Man United are concerned. So, I mean, I'd try and shift into West Ham. If we're going to be too stubborn to give them away, we're not giving away, but selling to West Ham for any fee, because obviously they can get it for free in the summer. You know, push them towards Newcastle's direction. Newcastle will take a lot of the lads that aren't in our plans. I mean, because they're in a situation where they have to survive because they'll get so much revenue next season. I think they go down for Championship, they miss out on about £100 million worth of revenue. And it means that it knocks on the effect of being able to spend money the next season. So, yeah, I think some of these lads, if they're a bit expendable like that, get rid of them straight away, or ASAP, or at least try and get rid if anyone doesn't want to be there, who's on these contracts with 6 months left. Sling them in the reserves, tough. You've had a chance. Because we're obviously not going to offer us any value past the 6 months. So we're effectively an asset that's going down in net worth. And then I think 2 or 3 signings, just bringing 2 or 3 players, a little bit, you know, just to give the players a kick up the backside, you know, like Bruno did when he came in. It was an ugly place when Bruno came in, but he gave everyone a lift because we thought, oh, well, maybe we've got a chance now. There's a few other lads, obviously, Haidar from Leipzig gets linked. He's got around £30 million release clause. Probably could get in the team. It's not hard by the looks of it to get into our team, but if he fits the bill, or if Tyler Adams fits the bill, or whoever gets linked, who's on these release clauses, get one of them in, I'd say. Maybe if they can, a Ruben Neves, although I think it'll be very difficult to prize him away from Wolves, but I think 2 or 3 signings, but I think they have to be in set positions, and I think the central midfield area is just such a mess. Yeah, I go down half the league, and I wouldn't think half of them would have our starting midfielders in the central area. I think it's that dire in terms of that, and I think this is probably a time where Rangnick has got a consultancy role past for the next 6 months, and he has to assert himself now. He's the boss. No one else is. He's the boss for the next 6 months. And ultimately, after this 6 months, he gets to decide who's in and out, you know. So these players shouldn't be throwing these sort of tantrums, especially when there's someone there who has a good chance of outlasting at the club. It's a bit disgraceful, really.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't spoken since Rangnick became the manager. And I'll go a bit off here, but what's your opinion on this interim manager? Because we haven't spoken at all about this with you. Everyone slagged it off when it came out that they were doing this interim manager and then going into the permanent manager next season, because it all of a sudden wipes his season off and cleans it from a slate. And we said on air that Rangnick would probably be the best one for 6 months and to take on and go upstairs, and that's ended up what happening. Do you think he's the right man for these 6 months, or do you think they should have got someone permanent in straight away?
I think on paper it looked like the right thing to do. Rangnick for 6 months. We're obviously after Pochettino. I'm not the biggest advocate of Pochettino. I think he achieves the bare minimum, or has to bare minimum of talented teams. I've got to be honest, he's good at building a squad, but I don't think he's the right man to push a team over the edge. But I think he will provide at least a stable platform. So if he was to arrive, then I'll obviously, as we all do at United and Old Trafford as match goers, and that, you know, we get behind the manager, no tantrums thrown, we just get behind him and try and back him. But I mean, he's got a job in his hands, that's for certain. Rangnick. I mean, he's shown before that he can do good short stints, as he did at Schalke when he obviously won him a DFB Pokal. But at the end of the day, I think United, they should have acted probably quicker, or they could have acted quicker and maybe gone for a Conte. Say if they knew that we were going to sack Oli, they should have known after the 5-0 Liverpool that we were going to sack Oli, because it was almost inevitable that it wouldn't turn around at that point. Although I was hoping that it maybe would, but obviously we met a beast in Manchester City the next week who they saw us down. They knew that was a good chance to kick us while we were down. They took every bit of it that they could. So, that hardly comes as a surprise that we got beat by Man City. I mean, giving the players a week off and playing Watford wasn't exactly the ideal way to go about things either, where we also got a good hammering at Watford, So it was a strange time, because it felt as though we were hanging on to something that wasn't going to work towards that time. But you look now and you sort of think, was there much point in saying goodbye then? You might as well have kept hold of it. It was going to come to this. I mean, but we might not have beaten any of the teams coming into these games. We've obviously had some form of balance issue in the squad since the start, which is why we put in such poor displays when we drew at Southampton. We won at Wolves 1-0. Probably didn't deserve anything from the game itself. We got a bit of a fortunate goal with Greenwood. There's obviously been some issues since the start. It's hard to put a finger on it as to what it was, but yeah, I think once Ollie had gone, I think by the time all that had happened, a 6-month deal for Rangnick was the right way to go about it. I mean, because Pochettino, we couldn't get him from PSG, so obviously they thought, right, we'll hold off. Erik ten Hag from Ajax is obviously one that gets spoken about. It looks as though he's open to joining the big club at the end of the season. Whether that be us, I don't know. But I've also got to put it out there that I was never a fan of Conte coming in, because I felt as though he'd rip up a lot of what Ollie had done. But after seeing some of Rangnick's early games, you look and you think, have we been left with a load of an unbalanced squad that isn't really functional past a lot of Ollie's work? I mean, it's a very, very tricky situation where a lot of it's going to be trial and error till the end of the season for Rangnick, and trying to see what he can build and form out of what he's been left with. And I think until that midfield area is sorted, I think it's going to be a bit of a slog, to be honest, because some of our players blow hot and cold, and there's players up front and out wide who aren't performing. We've got in and out of form players all over the place. I mean, it's going to be different. It's going to be difficult, and especially with his different tactics. He wants control at the end of the day, and we've not seen control bar the first half of Crystal Palace at home. It's been, it's been a bit lackluster, but I don't really put that down to the manager. I just put it down to the application of the players, to be honest with you, because they clearly showed in half an hour against Crystal Palace after 24 hours work that they could do something. So I don't understand why they haven't managed to replicate in any other games in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. It's difficult because Rangnick's come in and Ollie was criticised for not having the best tactics and not the best coaching staff. I remember that was a lot of the common themes towards the end of Ollie's reign at United. And then now Rangnick's come in, brought in some new coaching staff, brought in some tactics. The players have turned their hog out and started sulking. And then now I'm like, well, you can't bring in a proper coach and then complain that he's trying to coach you. That's what I don't understand about this set of players. That I think they were got used to Ollie's player favourites and Ollie's ways, that almost like this new manager coming in, it's almost unsettled them a bit. I think, yeah, like you say, maybe one or two players like a Bruno might give him just a kick and might think, actually we need to get playing for our places here. Anyway, up next we've got Villa. Anyway, is it Monday this week?
Yeah, Monday this one.
Oh, it was, yeah. Playing Villa in the Cup, don't they? And then they play them again at the weekend after. Surely this now, you said it's our last chance at silverware, because let's be honest, City have already won the league and the Champions League. All right, there's not no chance we'll win it, but there's a very, very slim chance we'll win it playing like we are. It surely is then a must-win game. Not only is it that, is it's Gerrard's first time playing Man United. I'm sure that story will be told all over Sky Sports or whatever TV channel it's shown on. But how do we go about this game, given the negativity around Rangnick's playing style and Rangnick's formation? Do you think maybe we might see a change of that, or do you think the lineup will reflect potentially the 11 players that want to leave?
Well, first and foremost, it's a good point you make about Steven Gerrard. Obviously, got a strong dislikement for him as a United fan. He was a great player for Liverpool, but that only increases my my dislike for him as a start. Same can go with most ex-Liverpool legends. Because that's the thing. As a kid, he was the figurehead of Liverpool. I mean, obviously, he was a figurehead of a lot. He was a figurehead of Liverpool's lackluster years as well, which was quite delightful. But at the end of the day, he was the one who would always give him a kick and a chance. So he'll know coming to Old Trafford what it means as a team that's maybe a little bit of an outsider, but has a good sort of kick about them. Villa won at Old Trafford earlier on in the season in what was, to be quite blunt, an appalling performance by United. I mean, that Courtney Horse header, I was right behind the goal when it went in the lower part of the second tier, and just thought, my God, this is when it started to sort of unravel a bit for Ollie, didn't it? With Villa, and we had Everton, and we drew 1-1 against them when Townsend scored. And if you don't beat teams like that, then you don't win trophies. Simple as. Sort of like Brian Clough said back in the day, paper cups win paper trophies, or paper teams win paper trophies rather. So it's win paper cups, whatever it is. But either way, it's a case of, on paper we've got a good team, but in terms of the synergy or the cohesion, it's very poor. So we've got to find or dig out some form of performance with a bit of character and a bit of energy about it on Monday. But the thing that has frustrated me in recent years is when United were down and out, or when United were in a bad place, because it wasn't always rosy under Sir Alex. We obviously had our bumps here and there, obviously in the midst of his greatness. We got beat 4-1 by Liverpool. We got beat 6-1 by Man City. We got beat 5-0 by Newcastle. We got beat 5-0 by Chelsea. We'd always bounce back. At the end of the day, we'd always bounce back because we'd always have this thing about, this what happened to us twice. Or this, but these days we just seem to let things get worse and worse and worse. So I just hope that the players can find or pull some form of performance out that will, kickstart something. We have to see the next game as the start of something. When we got beat for the first time under Rangnick, I think some people on the press are talking about us for just having to spell like Frank de Boer had at Crystal Palace. It's not quite that case, because obviously we're winning games and scored a few goals. But I think against Villa, we have to realise that it's a now or never time if we want to win anything this season. We've got the players who can actually push us over the line for wins. We've got David De Gea in amazing form. We've got Ronaldo, who's still scoring goals, a bit more infrequently right now, but we've still got some brilliant players, and we have to realise that Villa will be up for this. They beat us early on in the season. They'll be coming back thinking that they can do it again. And if there's players that he doesn't think are committed, then don't bother playing them. It's at the end of the day, it's the cup. You only get one chance at a cup. I think that's why it's unpredictable. Unpredictable because when we won the league, we've got the 2013 picture behind me. When we won the league, Swansea won the League Cup and Wigan won the FA Cup. It's just unpredictable for cups. So we have to go all out and have a really energetic performance where the attitude's right and spot on, and we try and ramp up the tempo a bit, because I think that's been a big issue. The tempo of the play has been too slow, and the passing's been too slow. But against Wolves, there was too many unforced errors, and against Villa early on in the season, there was unforced errors. I remember we put Ollie Watkins, I think it was, or Danny Ings in one-on-one when Maguire hit the pass too hard to David and he sliced it towards one of their strikers. We've got to just have a good attitude first and foremost, and then the performance should. I think with these players, it's mainly an attitude issue, and I think the performance will shine through once they change their mindsets and, we have a bit of belief and a bit of battle and pride about them.
I think this team's very much a confidence team. I think you get a few wins behind you, I think you'll be all right. It's just at the minute, it's we haven't been helped by that, that clog up of fixture, that backlog we had of really tough games. We weren't helped by that at all, and obviously the sacking of Ollie then came. It's been a very negative vibe around the club probably since that Liverpool game, I'd probably say. I mean, it's just gone downhill since then, and the performances have gone downhill since then. So we'll see. I mean, like you say, it's a last chance saloon to win a cup this weekend. So, well, not to win a cup, but to have a chance of winning a cup this weekend. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you for joining us, Liam. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon. But we'll wrap it up there. If you haven't already, make sure you go check out all the content on local TV, not just the football content. They do plenty of other content as well, put loads of news stories out. As well as that, you'll have a local TV in your area, so make sure you check out that, not just Manchester TV. If you're not watching from Manchester, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook channel. And yeah, we'll be back probably, or not similar time next week, I'm losing track of days. It's Wednesday now, isn't it? So we'll probably be back on the Sunday. No, we'll be back Monday night after the game, probably. We'll be back on Sunday because we were played. So we'll probably be back on Monday night after the game. So make sure you tune in then. Thank you for watching and goodbye.